Okay, we're in now 5th grade, Module 6, Lesson 2, and today we went into actual coordinate grids because Lesson 1 was primarily just a refresher on number lines. Now, on the homework, next one on question 1 says, use a set square to draw a perpendicular line to the x-axis through P. Then label the new line as the y-axis. And you can see they've done that here. Already for us. Give a pointer. And they drew, where's my pen? There it is. They drew this line right here. And they labeled it the y-axis because they drew it perpendicular. Now, it's not exactly, but it should mean when perpendicular, it means it has to be 90 degrees to the x-axis. Now B says, choose one of the sets perpendicular to lines above and create a coordinate plane. Mark 5 units on each axis and label them as whole numbers. So that's what they did here. They made this point right here was our origin, which would be 0, 0. And the x-axis, they labeled them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the y-axis, which they should have labeled up here, y-axis, going that way. Number 2, now we actually get to start using our knowledge of coordinate planes. It says use the coordinate plane to answer the following. Name the shape at each location. Now in class what I showed you was it has x, y coordinate. X is always first, and x is usually and always the normal number line. So the number line which is going to be horizontal. Because always got to remember you got to go across the floor before you can go upstairs. So you always go across before you go up. So, and it says an x is number 2. So I'm going to go over to 2 on the coordinate grid, and I'm going to go ahead and go up from number 2. Then it says 4. So on the y, which is going up, I'm starting at 4 on y, and I'm coming across. And I can see that the circle is what it is 2, 4. For the next one, I'm going across on the x to 5. And I'm coming up. And I'm going to keep going up because it said 4. And once again, if I go up on 4 to 1, 2, 3, 4, and I come across, I can see where they intersect is going to be the rhombus. The next one says x is 1, so I'm coming to 1 and coming up. And then it says, I'm going to keep going up because y is 5. So when I go up on the y-axis to 5 and come across, I can see that the triangle would be at this point. And our last one says go over to 5 on the x, and then we're going to come up, and then it says go to the 1 on the y and come across. And that would end up with our heart. So there's our 4 shapes. Now it says which shape is 2 units from the x-axis. Now I'm going to change my color real quick on my pen so I can show you better. All right, now it says 2 units from the x-axis. So I'm coming from the, here's my x-axis, and it wants to say 2 units from the x-axis. So I'm going to go 2 units on the y-axis, and everything on this line right here would be 2 units from the x-axis. So right here is 2 units from x, which is actually my y-coordinate. You can see the only shape that is on that line is going to be our star. C says which shape has the same x and y coordinate. So that means they would have to be equal. Okay, so let's see. This shape here, the star, is actually, since x is first, I'm going to write it down here, that'd be 1, 2 for the star. Now if I come to the circle, The circle would actually be 2, 4, and you can do this along with me as if you can. The triangle would be 1, 5. So we haven't found anything with the same yet. Our square would actually be 3, 3. So we can see that the square is the one that would be the same because it's 3, 3. Use the coordinate plane to answer the following. Name the coordinates of each shape. Now the moon. Now you can see that our intervals is actually in halves. So I got half 1, 1 1/2 2, 2 1/2 3, 3 1/2 4, 4 1/2 5, 5 1/2 6. Okay, and going up is the same way. There's a half between each one of them. So you can see the moon, which happens to be right here. I'm going to make it a red moon so we can see it. And if I come across, I can see the moon on the x-axis lays here. So that's actually 2 1/2. So the moon, as you can see, that's how they got 2 1/2. And if I come across, it's actually on 4. So that's how they got 2 1/2, 4. The sun, which is here, if I come up from where the sun's at, I can see my x-axis was 4. And then I follow on the y-axis would be 3. The heart. So I'm going to come across and I'm going to look down the x-axis and I can see the x-axis would be 1 and the y-axis is 2. For the cloud, which is up here, there's one that confuses a lot of people because we're not going to, on the x, we're not coming anywhere. We're staying right here on the origin, which is 0. And then we can see that in the y-axis, it was all the way up at 4 1/2. Our last smiley face, I can see that it was on 3 1/2 for this one. And when I come across, that was 5 1/2. So that's how they got every one of those ordered pairs. B, which two shapes have the same y coordinate? Well, once again, I'm looking for the same y coordinate. The same, which two shapes have the same y coordinate? So, if I'm looking up here on the y coordinate, and I'm looking across on them, I'm looking for two shapes that are on the same y coordinate. I can see right here at 2, I have a heart and a star that are both 2 on the y coordinate. So the heart and the star have the same y coordinates. C, plot an x at 2, 3. Well, first off, we're going to go over 2, 1, 2, so we're at the 2, and I'm going to come up and come across on the 3, so x would be right here on 2, 3. Plot a square at 3, 2. So once again, we're going to come across to 3, and I'm coming up 2, and this should be a square at this point, right here. The triangle is going to go at 6, which is all the way at the end of it, and coming up 3 1/2. So our triangle is going to be right there for 6, 3 1/2. Okay, number 4, Mr. Palmer plans to bury a time capsule 10 yards behind the school. What else should he do to make naming the location of time capsule more accurate? Well, the first thing you'd have to do is he needs to create a coordinate grid. And there can be various of answers on this, okay, as long as you create a coordinate grid. And I'm going to use the corner of the school right here as my origin. So that's my 0, 0. Then I'm going to bring my X coordinate across. That's X axis. And then I'm going to come up with my Y axis. And then I'm going to sit there and do these, and I'm going to say this is 1 yard. Let's say that's 2 yards, 4, 6, 8, and 10 yards. Okay. And then on our other way, we're going to go 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 yards. Now, we know he said that he wanted to do it 10 yards. Let me change my color here. 10 yards behind the school. So I can see here is 10 on my x-axis. So now he could actually plot it or mark it anywhere on that axis right there, and that would be 10 yards behind the school. And then he'd be able to name it. So let's just go ahead and say we're burying it right here. Okay? So we would be able to say that he buried it at 6:10.